One, for me personally, one of the most interesting parts of the book is how you apply this thinking to governments. And you say that it's wildly overdue, and that what we have to do is move to an open source government. What is that? What does that look like?
Well, the old model of government came out of the same period as the old model of the corporation. And it's like, I'm a government, I take tax revenue from you. I have all these people who work for me, I create these services and laws, I deliver them to you, I hope you enjoy them. Well, that will continue. But the new model is government as a platform. And what that means is that governments can provide capability or be a curator of public value that gets created in new ways. So I was with the CEO of Melbourne about a month ago, and I said to her, you've got thousands of categories of data. Just give it away. Release it within privacy constraints. Do you have data about bicycle accidents? She says, sure. I said, release it. Someone will create a Google mashup in 24 hours, and within a week you'll be saving lives, and it won't cost a thing. So this is governments create...
Explain that just a little bit more for our viewers, because they might not understand. What would this Google mashup look like, and how could they save lives for bicycle riders?
It would show a map of Melbourne, and the map would change color depending on where all the dangerous places are.
So they would identify, this is a bad corner right here. We have
Don't go there.
Right,
and
or do something.
And someone would come up with a thing that would show better routes, on how to get from here to there, and eventually someone probably add some GPS so that on your bicycle you could help find a route. But people would avoid the places where you get killed on bicycles. So this is not about outsourcing government. It's not about privatization. There's nothing in the first place. It's a different way about thinking how a government could create value for the public. We used to call this services in the past.
Right. Now, the other thing that we look to government for is to protect ourselves. You know, to make sure that this food doesn't have listeria in it, or that this river is not polluted. Here, too, you say citizens, at the end of the day, could probably do a better job of this monitoring and surveillance than government does.
Well, they do. The citizen regulator today is influencing all kinds of industries. They're finding out what's going on. They're informing others. It's just something like, and again, if governments are smart and they wake up to this, they will release data. Governments have data about radon gas. Turns out it's a big killer of people. And there are all kinds of people, companies, civil society organizations, individuals, other governments who care about radon gas. So you just release the data, and then all these different pillars of society self-organize. They start to create all kinds of services and things. It doesn't cost, that will help us protect ourselves from radon gas. It doesn't cost the government anything. This is a fundamental change in the architecture of a government.
But we've seen how governments respond to things as simple as access to information requests. They're constantly trying to hold back information. What has to change? What has to give to create kind of a political incentive on the part of government?
Well, see, Alan, that really gets to the sort of rebooting idea that we're not just in an economic slump or the aftermath of a financial meltdown. This really is a turning point in history where we've now got this convulsive shock to the system that's causing a lot of institutions like government to think very differently. I've been working with the government in Portugal and the Prime Minister there, and they have a sovereign debt crisis. They're running out of money. They can't fund their basic operations. They need to make fundamental changes. They didn't 5 years ago, but now they do. So they've adopted this thing called the digital economy strategy. It's basically macroeconomics implemented by a government. They're transforming the schools. Every kid gets a laptop connected to a high-speed network in the schools. They're retraining the teachers. Rather than e-gov or government online or all this stuff, which is paving the old cow path, it's taking our old model of government and sticking it on the web. They're making fundamental changes, as we just discussed, to government. They're implementing plans to build intelligence into the whole energy grid. They want to change the transportation system because they have to, because the old approaches are stalled and they're just not working anymore.